If they never call or text you first, just do this. You see, we often find ourselves in a curious dance with others, always waiting, hoping, sometimes even agonizing over whether they'll take the first step. If they don't call or text you first, it can feel like a rejection, an omission of your importance in their lives. But I want to invite you to look at this through a different lens. Imagine life as a flowing river, a continuous, effortless current. In our interactions, we often turn that river into a struggle, attempting to paddle upstream, hoping to control where others go and how they feel about us. But what if we stopped fighting the current? What if, instead of waiting for others to act, we allowed ourselves to float along, flowing naturally? Expectations often become the silent architects of our disappointments. When we expect someone to call or text, we're unknowingly creating a story where their actions or inactions start to dictate how we feel about ourselves and our relationships. We might begin to believe that if they don't reach out, it must mean we aren't important to them, or that the relationship is unbalanced. But in reality, these assumptions are rooted in our desire for control and validation, rather than any universal truth about the other person or the relationship. By letting go of these expectations, we free ourselves from a cycle of dependency on others' actions to define our own worth. We stop waiting for someone else to meet our needs, which in turn reduces the burden of disappointment when they don't act as we wish. This is not about not caring or being indifferent. It's about understanding that our happiness and self-worth cannot hinge on someone else's behavior. Instead, letting go of expectations allows us to reclaim that sense of self which isn't reliant on external validation. We come to realize that our intrinsic value isn't altered by whether or not someone initiates contact. It's a reminder that we are whole and complete on our own. When we hold on to expectations, we also place an invisible weight on the relationship itself. We might not realize it, but people sense when we need them to behave in a certain way, even if we never say it outright. This creates an unspoken pressure, often causing relationships to feel tense or forced. On the other hand, when we approach relationships without these predefined expectations, we allow them to be more genuine. We're no longer waiting for someone to text first, and we're not disappointed if they don't. We show up in relationships from a place of true presence and acceptance, free from hidden demands or resentment. Letting go of expectations also brings a deep sense of peace and inner freedom. Without the mental energy spent on wondering what someone else is thinking or predicting how they might act, we have more space to focus on our own growth and joy. We become less reactive, less prone to emotional highs and lows that stem from waiting on others. This shift can lead to a more balanced and stable inner world, where we're less likely to be thrown off by the actions or inactions of others. In embracing this mindset, we allow relationships to unfold naturally without forcing, controlling, or clinging. We're able to accept people as they are, and in doing so, we invite more authenticity and mutual respect. By letting go of expectations, we not only find freedom within ourselves, but also create a space where true connections can flourish organically. Embracing self-worth is a transformative act that requires us to look inward, beyond the external markers of success, approval, and validation. So often we allow our sense of worth to be shaped by others' opinions, by how much attention we receive, or by the accomplishments we've stacked up. We might find ourselves feeling valued only when someone acknowledges us, sends a message, or expresses affection. But true self-worth isn't something that comes from outside sources. It's a recognition of our inherent value, an understanding that we are enough, just as we are, without needing anyone else's confirmation. When we embrace self-worth, we begin to see that our value doesn't fluctuate based on who reaches out, who acknowledges us, or who praises our achievements. Our worth is constant. This shift allows us to move through life with greater confidence and peace, because we're no longer chasing validation or approval from others. Instead, we start making choices from a place of authenticity, honoring our needs and boundaries without fear of rejection or judgment. We stop measuring ourselves by comparisons and societal standards, realizing that our journey is unique, and so is our value. This self-acknowledgement helps us to cultivate a stronger, more resilient relationship with ourselves. When we genuinely see and appreciate our own worth, we stop feeling the need to overextend ourselves or prove our value to others. We no longer seek approval in ways that may be self-sacrificial or disingenuous. We make choices that align with our values and desires, rather than seeking validation through actions that don't resonate with who we truly are. Embracing self-worth allows us to develop a sense of self-respect and self-compassion, which become the foundation for healthy boundaries and balanced relationships. Another powerful effect of embracing self-worth is that we begin to attract relationships that are supportive and nurturing. When we value ourselves, we are less likely to tolerate situations or relationships that don't honor our needs and respect our boundaries. People who genuinely respect and care for us are naturally drawn to us, while those who might have taken advantage of us in the past may find themselves drifting away. This process can lead to more fulfilling and authentic connections, as we're now rooted in our own worth and no longer dependent on others for a sense of value. Self-worth also brings a sense of inner calm and stability. We stop the endless search for external approval, allowing us to find fulfillment from within. This inner calm makes us more resilient in the face of life's ups and downs. When we're grounded in self-worth, we're able to face rejection, setbacks, or criticism with greater ease. Knowing these experiences don't diminish who we are. Instead, we grow through them, gaining more insight into our strengths, values, and capabilities. Embracing self-worth empowers us to live authentically, make choices that align with our true selves, and build a life that reflects our deepest values and aspirations. Focusing on authentic relationships means prioritizing connections that feel genuine, balanced, and aligned with who we truly are. In a world where social expectations and superficial interactions can easily cloud our connections, choosing authenticity requires self-awareness and the courage to let go of what doesn't serve us. Authentic relationships are not about quantity, but quality. These are the connections where we feel safe, accepted, and valued without needing to put on a facade or meet others' expectations. It's about being with people who appreciate us for who we are, not for any role we play or validation we provide. One key aspect of focusing on authentic relationships is honesty. In genuine connections, we're able to express ourselves openly and share our thoughts, feelings, and beliefs without fear of judgment or rejection. This honesty fosters trust, creating a foundation on which deeper, more meaningful interactions can thrive. Authentic relationships encourage growth and understanding rather than forcing us to conform to someone else's ideals or suppress our true selves. With these people, we feel safe enough to be vulnerable, and in doing so, we create a deeper bond that stands the test of time. Another element of authentic relationships is reciprocity. In these connections, both parties show a balanced level of effort, respect, and care. There's a natural give and take, where both people feel valued and seen without one person constantly needing to chase or prove their worth. This mutual effort reflects the value each person places on the relationship and shows a genuine desire to stay connected. When we focus on authentic relationships, we seek connections that make us feel supported and respected, where the interaction feels like a shared journey rather than a one-sided pursuit. Focusing on authentic relationships also involves setting boundaries. Boundaries are essential to maintaining our self-respect and ensuring that our relationships are healthy. In authentic connections, boundaries are respected and valued rather than seen as a threat or an inconvenience. They allow us to be ourselves without sacrificing our well-being. Boundaries don't mean pushing people away, rather, they provide a framework within which both individuals feel safe and appreciated. Authentic relationships also encourage personal growth. Instead of feeling like we must stay the same or limit ourselves to be accepted, we're able to explore new ideas, pursue our passions, and grow as individuals. When we're in genuine relationships, those around us celebrate our successes and support us through challenges. They don't hold us back from pursuing what's meaningful to us, but instead encourage us to live fully. In return, we do the same for them, nurturing a relationship that grows and evolves naturally over time. Finally, focusing on authentic relationships helps us find a deeper sense of belonging. When we're surrounded by people who genuinely care for us and accept us unconditionally, we feel less alone. This sense of belonging grounds us, helping us face life's uncertainties with greater resilience. Authentic relationships become a source of strength, comfort, and joy, adding a richness to life that can't be found in superficial connections. By prioritizing these kinds of relationships, we create a life that feels more meaningful, fulfilling, and aligned with our true selves. Cultivating inner peace is about finding a sense of calm and contentment within ourselves that isn't easily disrupted by external events, people's opinions, or the stresses of everyday life. It means creating a stable foundation of tranquility that remains steady even when life feels chaotic or uncertain. Inner peace doesn't come from controlling what's outside of us. Rather, it's about learning to control our reactions, our thoughts, and the narratives we create. It requires us to accept what we cannot change and to focus on what we can, which is often our own mindset and perspective. The journey toward inner peace begins with self-awareness. When we observe our own thoughts, we start to notice patterns that might contribute to inner turmoil. We may realize that we're holding on to resentments, fears, or desires that disturb our peace. Cultivating inner peace involves letting go of these attachments, understanding that clinging to them only brings frustration. Instead of holding on to past grievances or worrying about the future, we learn to center ourselves in the present moment, appreciating the here and now. This shift helps us see life as it is, without adding unnecessary stress or anxiety. Another component of inner peace is acceptance. Often we feel unrest because we resist what's happening in our lives. We may wish things were different, hold on to what-ifs, or feel anxious about things beyond our control. However, by practicing acceptance, we release this resistance and make peace with reality. Acceptance doesn't mean passivity or resignation. It's about acknowledging the truth of the present moment and working with it, rather than against it. When we accept what we cannot change, we stop wasting energy on resisting it, freeing ourselves to focus on growth, solutions, or simply finding gratitude in what is. Cultivating inner peace also involves learning to quiet the mind. In today's world, we're often bombarded with stimuli and information that can keep our minds racing. Meditation, mindfulness practices, and even simple moments of solitude allow us to step away from the noise and reconnect with our inner calm. These practices help us tune into our breathing, our body, and the subtle sensations of peace that naturally arise when we give ourselves the space to just be. By regularly practicing mindfulness, we create a sanctuary within ourselves, a place of calm we can return to any time, regardless of what's happening externally. Finally, inner peace is supported by compassion, both for ourselves and for others. When we cultivate kindness and understanding within, we're less likely to judge ourselves harshly or to carry grudges. Self-compassion allows us to forgive our own mistakes, while compassion for others helps us let go of resentments. This approach frees our hearts and minds from unnecessary burdens, allowing us to approach life with a lighter spirit. Inner peace, therefore, becomes a practice of kindness, mindfulness, acceptance, and self-awareness, a commitment to honoring and nurturing our own well-being. Shifting your perspective is a powerful practice that opens up new ways of thinking, seeing, and experiencing life. Often we become so deeply rooted in our habitual perspectives that we fail to recognize how they limit our understanding and potential. We view situations through the lens of our past experiences, biases, and beliefs, which can lead to fixed and often narrow conclusions. Shifting perspective, however, means stepping back from these habitual ways of seeing, challenging our assumptions, and looking at things from different angles. It's an invitation to see beyond what's familiar and embrace a mindset of curiosity and openness. One of the first steps to shifting perspective is to recognize that our thoughts are not absolute truths. They're simply interpretations shaped by our personal history and current emotional state. When we realize this, we begin to see that there's more than one way to understand any situation. This flexibility allows us to approach challenges with a more open mind, enabling us to find solutions and insights that may have been hidden before. For instance, what may initially seem like a failure can be reinterpreted as a valuable learning experience. By changing our perception, we alter how we feel about the situation and can even change how we respond to it. Shifting perspective also enhances our empathy toward others. When we make a conscious effort to see things from someone else's point of view, we broaden our understanding and break free from our limited perspective. Empathy helps us realize that others may see the same situation differently, based on their own experiences and challenges. This can reduce conflict, increase compassion, and create stronger, more meaningful relationships. When we look beyond our own viewpoint, we begin to appreciate the diversity of perspectives around us and recognize that each person's view is valid and worthy of respect. Another aspect of shifting perspective is learning to adopt a growth-oriented mindset. Rather than seeing setbacks as obstacles, we can start to view them as opportunities for growth. This shift transforms our experiences, turning difficulties into stepping stones that propel us forward. By focusing on the lessons embedded in challenges, we empower ourselves to grow and evolve rather than feeling defeated. In this way, shifting perspective nurtures resilience, helping us embrace life's unpredictability with greater confidence and curiosity. Furthermore, shifting perspective helps us appreciate the present moment. Often we're so caught up in regrets about the past or anxieties about the future that we overlook the beauty and opportunities available to us right now. When we consciously shift our perspective to focus on the present, we cultivate gratitude and become more attuned to the richness of each moment. This practice reminds us that life is constantly unfolding and that our experience of it can be deeply fulfilling when we're fully engaged in the here and now. Finally, shifting perspective teaches us to let go of rigid expectations. Life rarely conforms to our exact plans, and when we cling to specific outcomes, we set ourselves up for disappointment. By learning to see life as fluid and unpredictable, we develop a mindset that is adaptable and open to change. This allows us to find joy and meaning in whatever unfolds, regardless of whether it aligns with our initial expectations. In this way, shifting perspective not only expands our view of the world, but also enriches our experience, helping us embrace life with a sense of wonder and acceptance. Allowing the right people to flow into our lives is a practice of openness and trust in the natural rhythms of connection. Instead of holding tightly to relationships that may no longer serve us, or anxiously trying to control who enters our lives, we begin to trust that the people who are meant to be in our lives will naturally find their way to us. This approach isn't passive. It involves a conscious decision to create a space that attracts people who genuinely align with our values, goals, and sense of self. It's about creating conditions that welcome positive, mutually fulfilling connections rather than forcing bonds that lack harmony. The process of allowing the right people in begins with self-awareness. When we're clear on who we are and what matters most to us, we naturally become more selective about the kinds of relationships we nurture. By understanding our boundaries, needs, and values, we set a foundation that attracts those who resonate with who we truly are. This self-awareness acts like a filter, guiding us away from relationships that drain us or require us to compromise our authenticity. We start to prioritize quality over quantity, looking for relationships that are based on mutual respect, support, and shared purpose. Letting the right people flow into our lives also requires releasing the attachment to relationships that may no longer fit. Sometimes we hold on to connections out of habit, guilt, or fear of being alone. However, by clinging to relationships that no longer bring us joy or growth, we close ourselves off to the possibility of meeting new people who could add value to our lives. Letting go is an act of courage and self-respect, signaling to the universe that we are ready to make space for connections that align more closely with who we've become. This openness creates an inviting atmosphere for relationships that are uplifting and meaningful. Trust is another essential part of allowing the right people in. Often we may feel the urge to control our social circles, trying to ensure that people we meet fit a particular mold. But true, lasting connections can't be forced. Trusting that the right people will enter our lives at the right time requires faith in the process of life. It's about recognizing that each person we meet has something to teach us, even if that lesson is learning to let go. This trust brings a sense of ease, removing the pressure to seek out or create relationships from a place of fear or scarcity. Lastly, allowing the right people to flow in involves nurturing an attitude of openness and curiosity. When we approach new people without preconceptions or judgments, we open the door to discovering qualities and connections we might not have expected. This openness allows us to see people for who they really are, rather than projecting our own desires or expectations onto them. By embracing each new person with genuine curiosity, we give ourselves the chance to form connections that are grounded in true understanding and acceptance. Allowing the right people to flow in is about cultivating an inner sense of peace, self-respect, and authenticity, which naturally attracts others who reflect those same qualities. As we embody these traits, we find that our relationships become more aligned, fulfilling, and supportive, and we experience a deeper sense of belonging and harmony in our social world.